Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Good morning.
Episode 11 of Couple of Kooks. I'm Mikey, and that's John. How are we, everyone? Good morning. Oh, Chris, appreciate you. You get all the Fortnite you need, bud. It's okay. Appreciate you. Appreciate you leaving a comment. Ground Slayer, howdy, sir. Howdy, sir.
Morning.
Blake Tarpley. Probably working on some games pre DFW so we can squish that translucent bastard. Good morning, sir. Joe Fan, good morning. Cliff, good morning,
hey, Cliff.
Sir. Hi, Mom. Good morning. Love you.
Good morning.
Yeah. So what's going on? What's going on? We had a busy week, I bet. Preparing for the relocation. Yeah.
I have, yeah. A lot going on here. I did get to spend some morning. Good morning, Peter. I got a ton of stuff going on. But I did work on the Spaceman a little bit. Worked on the boots. Did that. This week we had a pretty good show on Figure It Out Thursday night.
We did.
That show we talked about what was going on at DFW. We will go over some of that later this morning. I'm going to explain a little bit about it, about the workshop that we talked about that night. That is for the vehicle workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It's kind of a very limited thing, and it's not totally free, but there is so much value in it. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about kind of how it's going to be set up and what it means. So if you weren't at the one last year, or even if you were, this will tell you like some of the differences that'll be this year. I have a couple of other projects, stuff that we will be bringing to the
Good morning, J-Mac.
Morning. Stuff that a couple of kooks will be presenting at DFW, a couple of kits, a surprise kit that we weren't planning on, but I was working on a project and thought that it was going to be a good idea to do this, to include it. And I think, Mikey, you've made some progress on some of the stuff you've been working on.
I have, yeah. I finished this big bastard.
Let's take a look at this guy. Oh yeah.
Lee here. That's finally finished.
That turned out really nice.
That turned out pretty dang good. Pretty good. Today I'll shoot clear on the hyena, and maybe tonight work on starting assembling that thing back together. That will be nice. Yeah. That's really been what I've been working on. It's taken a lot of time.
Yeah, I'd say the vehicles really do take a lot more out of you than you think they should.
Yes, they do.
So all right, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about some DFW stuff.
Okay. All right. So for the mobile. Yes, it is. So DFW, Friday of the DFW show, all day long, there will be workshops going on. And two of those workshops are, you got to pay a little extra to go to them, but you will walk out with something. So it's like you get to be part of the experience. The first one will be ours. Well, the one I'm going to talk about first will be ours. A couple of Kooks workshop, and that we're going to be building the Spaceman, which if you've been watching, you know what we're doing there, what we're going for there. That's just going to be an all black astronaut type figure. We'll be working on that. We'll build that in the workshop. Everybody will have their parts and pieces, and then you get to walk out of there. I believe the cost of that is $50. We'll do some tips and tricks while we're in there to customizing, and then I believe the next day we have just a panel where we'll talk about generalized customizing and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff that Mikey does, and painting tips and that. So that's kind of what a couple of KUK has going on at DFW. Other than we will have a booth. If you guys are involved with Skeletron or Call Sign Longbow, both of those teams put out some pretty awesome updates yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The Skeletron showed the Skeletron figure. Really nice details, parts for the 6-inch figures that they're doing. The Skeletron will be the last one that gets done in 4-inch and 6-inch. They're kind of being done at the same time. So those will be the last two. But there were some great pictures of it, and they did say that Skeletron won't be coming to DFW, but Call Sign Longbow will be selling Skeletron merchandise, including Robo Skulls. So if you haven't got a Robo Skull, that will be a great chance for you to snag one. I'm assuming there will be some left after Joe Fest. So there'll be a chance to get that. On the Longbow update, we showed paint masters, and those are production paint masters. So that means that they've finished the masking templates, and that is the final thing for us to approve the masking templates that the paint's in the right places, and then they will go into production. There are several figures in that bunch. I believe there's 5 or 6 altogether that are in that bunch. I can't remember how many we showed in the thing because it was some random parts, but you did get a chance to see what Lancer looks like all done up, and he looks really great, and I am super excited to get those out to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was that. Now the other workshop, the one I want to talk about, we did talk about it Thursday night in quite a bit of detail on Figure It Out.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about it. We had a special guest. We had Dave Kunitz, Hasbro designer from the 1980s. Dave Kai was an impromptu thing. I really did not think he would come, but he showed up. And we talked about a lot of stuff. Zakanen had some pretty cool questions for him that, I'm sure he gets asked a lot, but, I think it was fun for him just to be part of it. In that discussion, what's going to happen is at the workshop, and that one is a little more expensive than ours, but it is an incredible value, especially if you are an O-ring GI Joe fan. There will be several of the Hasbro designers, and when design back then different than now. Right now, I could tell you that I was a designer for GI Joe, and all that might mean is that I do pictures, draw pictures. But back then, on a line like GI Joe, these guys would scratch build models. They'd do some sketches, and someone would say, "Yeah, make that one, and that one," and they would make these scratch built plastic models. Some of them had vacuum formed parts, excuse me, ABS plastic, scratch, like sheets of plastic, tubes, and all that. Like if you were scratch building a model kit or something like that, literally scratch building out of just whatever they had. So Dave will be bringing. He was in his studio office, and in his studio office he has a vacuum chamber. So he was literally vacuum forming the parts that he's going to bring. He's going to bring a couple of bodies, and they'll be vacuum formed on a sheet, and then cut them out, and then you make it into whatever. So you don't have to make it into what it was. So if you imagine, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil some of it for you, just so that you can start thinking. If you're going to go to this workshop, you can start thinking what you might want to make. So the two that we're going to have will be the Badger and the Piranha, two of the later things that Dave worked on. He did not have them anymore, so he made them from scratch, made the bucks, created vacuum boards, and so you're going to get a top and a bottom for a Piranha shape and a Badger shape. You'll get those, and then we'll have a wide array of customizing scratch building accessories. We'll have sheet stock out of ABS. We'll have other things also, styrene and ABS. We'll have that, and then there will be a series. Last year, when they did the show, we just had a bunch of model kits, and everybody was rummaging through model kits. Well, this year we're gonna focus that down, and we're gonna have like 3D printed wheel sets and 3D printed engines and missiles and stuff like that. So all that'll you'll just go over to the pile of 3D printed stuff and pick out what you want to build your thing, and then you go scratch build it. The designers, those guys that originally designed this stuff, will come work with you. There's only 20 seats, 4 guys, and that gives each one of those designers can handle 5 people. And I'm telling you, Mikey and I had Dave helping both of us, plus he was helping 4 or 5 other people. But his help and input was fun. I mean, he would come over and he'd say, "Oh, why don't you try this?" He showed Mikey some tips and tricks that I don't think Mikey had ever thought about. And Mikey and I've been scratch building stuff for a long time. So we learned some stuff. We learned about some chemicals that they used then, some glues they used then that I didn't even know they were using. So that was cool. Plus, you get their insight, and they're good guys. They're excited to still be doing it. Dave even talked about that the other night, how they were doing that in 1980, 87, 88, and at no time did they ever think like someday we're going to have fans that want to just work on something with us. It wasn't what they were thinking. They were just building kids' toys. They weren't even thinking about it. If you do replay, if you're part of the replay squad and you watch that show, Dave talks about developing the shuttle complex and how that came to be. How all he wanted to do was he just wanted to do a shuttle with a booster, and then marketing looked at it and said, no, we need a top of the line play set. So all the other designers piled in, came up with the idea of the crawler gantry, and it was a great story because he talked about how they basically came up to a deadline, and somebody came to him and they were like, well, if we don't get this done in like this many weeks, it won't happen this year. And the designers were like, no, we want to do this. What do we got to do? And Dave talked about how they just ground it out 80-hour weeks until they got it done, and they got it done. So you can imagine, like, if you were scratch building, imagine you had just like a few weeks to scratch build the Defiant playset. That's what they did. So he talks about that.
Morning, Ken.
So that's kind of what we're doing here. Morning, Ken.
Morning, G-Force.
So that's what we're going to do in that workshop. And I've talked about it in a lot of shows that I've been on because it was a big experience for me. I loved doing it. It was so awesome for me. And if you are a customizer or you are interested in that, or you read Dan Klingensmith's books about how GI Joe came to be and how from concept to creation, if you're interested in that, then this is an awesome experience. This is something like you get to be part of this, and then whatever you build, that's yours. That's yours forever. Mikey and I did it last year. We got all the designers to sign them, so each one of us walked away with a creation that we made with the help of those guys, and got their signatures on it, and it was awesome. It was fun. So if you're on the fence about the cost of that workshop, it's worth it. It's worth it. The money. I mean, I've been a collector for a long time, and I can tell you that when you're putting money down, it sounds like $80 to $100 seems like a lot, but we've all spent that for far less of an experience. So it's worth it though. It's like Disneyland for a Joe collector, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a panel, 15, 20 years ago, where you would have been able to sit there and listen to Stan Lee talk about comics and give you notes on character creation. Like, they're obviously not that influential, right? Because those Stan Lee touched people across the world. But imagine you had that opportunity and you didn't do it, and then you're like, man, I wish I would have done that. This is one of those events. Like, this is one of those things you're going to look back on like, I wish I would have done that, because there's limited opportunities for these things. Eventually these guys are not going to want to do this stuff anymore. I mean, we're almost there with Larry Hama. Like, Larry Hama can do a handful of shows, but he can't do that stuff, all the time. I'm surprised Ron can. You know what I mean? But yeah, he grinds through it. Bless his heart.
Yeah, I'm always amazed that he still comes. He interacts with everybody when he comes, and when him and Jenny come to the shows.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
and you could tell that that's a big thing for them. I think a lot of it, and being in design and development myself, and being under those 4-week deadlines myself, that's like a reward for the sacrifices you made, to the home life. Like that was a reward. Like you could go to a show and be treated nice, and yeah, you guys did a good job. So this just happens a lot later in life. So I think it's nice for like Jenny and Ron, even Dave and his wife. They most of those guys brought their wives. Frank and his wife were there last year. So those guys, it's like a reward for something they didn't even know they would ever get, and it's the
sure.
recognition and getting to interact with people. And when we do interact with them, it's fun for them because they're actually you're asking questions. You're not just there to watch a panel. You're there to make something,
It's
and it's something
interactive.
that's something
Very.
they did, and some of them still do. Some of those guys are still in design and development, or have companies that do design and development for other companies. So this is like pure passion for them. This is like, because nobody's making stuff out of Bondo and styrene anymore. Like everything's 3D printed. You throw everything together. But to those of us that started in that medium, it's a lot of fun to sit down and make something out of that, out of fillers and wood and foam.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Oh, Cliff asked about the hyena, Mikey.
Oh, um, yeah. Gun Bunny. Good morning,
Gun
sir.
Bunny's here.
Morning. That's pretty apropos because this is kind of what Gun Bunny does. I mean, his thing is vehicles. He does an incredible job. But Hyena is coming along. It'll get shot with clear today. But yeah, it's coming along. It's just the back. Kind of get the full view of that pattern, which is pretty cool. Sorry. So yeah, it'll get clear today. I've got about 4 trays worth of parts that get cleared along with this thing. Um, Finished the interior panels yesterday, so that'll get clear, and then I'll go through and put the gloss on the specific parts. Um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but yeah, yesterday I did a bunch of dry brushing and stuff. Like I didn't want it to be super weathered, but I didn't want it to look like brand new either.
Right.
Yep.
So I'll segue with that, since you're talking about action force vehicles. I've been working on a Panther Jeep, but there were some things kind of missing there, and so I will show you what I've been up to here. Um, if you guys do action force vehicles at all from Palatoy, then you know that the wheels on the action force vehicles were very different than what we had here. So we've got the eight lug wheel here. There it is. All right. So this just snaps into the Stinger tire, and then snaps onto the back. Now this one doesn't have the center post, but the final one does. This was just the rough one I did to make sure that the hub setup would work. Also, one thing that the Stinger is missing is in the back, and this will be available. We'll have this available separate because I know a lot of people want to buy it. Stingers are way cheaper than Vamps, right? But the Stinger has this flat piece of plastic back here.
Dumb.
Snaps into this hole. So I'm working on the basket. It snaps into the hole. So you can get this basket. I'll also do some jerry cans for it so that you don't have to buy a Vamp just to get this set up to make you a Stinger, or whatever you want to do. You maybe want to make a Tiger Force version. Stingers are way cheaper than Vamps, and you can get them on Amazon for about $80. So you can do that. So I'm going to have a full Panther Jeep, customed out, yellow parts and all that. I'm going to be using the Mark II Vamp cannon. That is available on Colts 3D. It's actually available in several places. It's a really nice kit. I don't have it here. It's over there to be painted. But it looks like the original Vamp gun, and it even has a slider in it that you can turn to make the barrels, the pom-pom barrels, work like the original. So it's pretty cool set. Mark II Designs is who did that, and I'm working on a deal with him that I can include those in the kit. He did the design work, but he sometimes he brings like 2 or 3 to the shows when he goes to the shows. But I'm going to go ahead and have them printed out with yellow barrels, and that's how I'm going to sell them. I'm going to sell them as if they're going to always go on Panther Jeeps. If you want to paint them some other color, you can do that, or you can just order them directly from Mark II. But the ones I'm going to do are dark gray with yellow barrels. So that's what I'm going to bring that to the shows this year. I'm sure Mikey's Hyena will sell way faster than one of those will, but I thought it was cool. It's a fairly easy custom to do. You don't have to break anything to take the Stinger apart. It does have a ton of screws in the bottom of it. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to take one apart, but it is full of screws. They're all the same size though. They all come out. The applique where you replace with the basket, that's just a simple snap-in thing. The roll bar snaps out if you want to do the yellow roll bar version. And of course, the basket will be molded in yellow and painted yellow. You can get it in either color, but that's kind of what we're gonna. That's some extra stuff we're gonna do. We'll have the wheel sets. Also, that wheel works on the HMS. So if you wanted to do the SAS version of the SMS, the missile system, MMS, SMS, you could do that version also, and that's a pretty easy custom. The biggest part of that is painting the missiles gray camo. But then now you'll have the wheels to match it. So we'll be selling the wheel kits, we'll be selling the baskets, and then we'll be selling a full conversion kit to turn one into a Panther, to turn a Stinger into a Panther. But that will be something we weren't planning on, but because I let myself get completely sidetracked with vehicles, which it seems like both of us did, that's what comes of that. And there are, I don't know if you guys saw Gridiron's new vehicle.
Yeah.
That they showed. That's amazing. They do such great work. Mikey and I want to get there someday, but we're going to focus on a different genre. So I don't want to step on those guys' toes. They do such great work, and even though there's always room for more, as far as I'm concerned, 1/12 scale, the more stuff we can get out there that, I mean, you can get a Conquest, you can get a Tomahawk if you're willing to pay for the 3D printed stuff. You can, but I'm under the mind that let's get some new stuff out there that isn't what somebody else did. A couple of homages are great, but let's get some new stuff out there and try to get some new blood in it. You know, it's not all about. It can't always be about nostalgia, especially when you're trying to build a modern military force in 1/12 scale. There's just some stuff that needs to be done. So that's kind of what we're doing. You haven't missed anything. It's coming up. So that's some of the stuff we're doing. If you're watching Mikey's show on Wednesday night, you know that the Dragonsky kit is well underway. As soon as Mikey is done with that, we'll make any changes that need to be made to the model, and then we will have those. So that'll be the Sci-Fi Pilot kit, is what we're calling the Sci-Fi kit, Sci-Fi Pilot, and the Dragonsky kit will be called the Zukov Zippo, and that is a direct reference to the comic frame where he talks about throwing Molotovs in the Bolshevik Revolution. I think is the battle he's talking about, and then he says what I wouldn't have given to have the Zukov Zippo back then. So that's going to be our code name for it. I don't want to get any copyright strikes or anything ridiculous, but that's what we're going to do. The smart gun kit, that is going to probably hold off, right, until after DFW. We are still being discussed. Still got some ideas there and some plans, but like I said, the vehicle thing kind of sucked us both in. We got the Spaceman kit to focus on, and we wanted to finish up the other kits that we knew we could get done. I'm hoping there'll be a couple more things that we'll be able to blast out. But as Mikey said earlier, the I am moving. I'm getting ready to relocate. So all of my stuff is in storage except for just the stuff to work on this and my 3D printers. But one of my 3D printers went down, so I got the replacements. I haven't got them running, the new one's running yet, but when I do, this is going to become a print farm pretty quick, and the new place will definitely be a print farm. so that's the thing about the new place is that we will have I will have way more ability to do some of the stuff that I want to do and some of the stuff that Mikey wants to do, and we'll be able to kick out some product this year. That's the plan. Just again, if you're thinking about that DFW commander package, the two workshops are going to be a blast. We are going to talk about, as Action Figure Addict says here, we are going to talk about the Spaceman that we're going to build in 1/12 scale. And then I talked earlier about the 1980s era build a vehicle, and with the Hasbro designers. And like I said, that is so much worth it. It's a lot of fun, and hanging out with those guys, you feel pretty cool about like who designed the space shuttle and who designed the Stellar Stiletto or the Mean Dog, or a lot of those vehicles that came after the OGs. These are the guys that did them and built the models for them and that kind of stuff. We're talking about Rolling Thunder, all these. Like I said, the Mean Dog, Badger. When it got a little crazier, these guys had the mind to make it crazier. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So, talk about the Spaceman a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm ready. As I said, the last 2 weeks I have been very busy. So the Spaceman only has one update, but I think it's a good one. I worked on the boots. Last show we talked about how the shoes were going to work. I'm going to save that till I get this boot piece made, and it has been roughed out in Blender. So I'm going to show you guys what we have here. I am pretty excited about it. This is one of those things that I love. I'm going to show you. This is what we were wanting to do. This was the boots in that sketch that was on my inspiration board. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's that. So let me show you what I actually came up with. Here it is. So the blue stuff's the parts I've already roughed in. Let's take a look at the boots. These are rough. This is just my Blender pass. The Blender pass is always the one where I have a little more freedom and I figure out how it works mechanically later. So this will go over. This will be two halves, and you'll glue the bottom part here to the boot, to Destro's boot here, and then you can still turn it. You'll still have the ability to turn the boot outside of the leg. This knee pad goes over the knee pad, of course, that's on the figure, and it will hopefully swivel. So the knee pad can move separate of the rest of it. So that's where we're at. Say there's a lot more to tweak here. If you didn't see the last show, this is how you'll do the boots. This way we don't have to create all the joints and everything that are under here. You'll still have all the joints of the original figure. And so I wanted to get this figured out, how wide this was going to be, and then I will create this snap over piece. You'll glue the boots into this shoe, and then everything will snap over this. So you'll have this armor look that I showed on the other picture. You'll have that. We'll go over the boots. It'll be a little wider than the normal foot. but it'll make the figure feel grounded and it'll actually help him stand. So that's where we're at. So far, this is what we've got for the Spaceman. Everything in blue is what will be in the kit. My new printer has some pretty great capabilities, and I believe we're going to be on our way to clear helmet bubbles. I have every intention of that. I printed some off with my old printer, but it's a 4K, and both new ones that are getting set up are 12. So that means the resolution is better. It's kind of a misnomer and a way for them to sell printers, but the truth is I can dial that resolution up and do a lot cleaner print. And with clear resin, there are a lot of tricks you can use to get the total shiny effect we're going to want. So that's the next big thing is printing those out, so I'll have time to get any post work done. Yeah. And somebody, I shouldn't figure out, so there's 3 weeks. Not for me. There's not 3 weeks. Mikey and I will be going to both shows, DFW and Joe Fest. So for us, that we have 2 weeks before we leave for that. And I don't think either any of the printers that are going to be running will be willing to jump in the truck with us and make that trip. I'm sure the hotel would appreciate me 3D printing on the fly. It's not a bad idea. So that's where the Spaceman kit is. I got all the magnet sets for the belt to get set up. So that will probably be the next thing I knock out. The gauntlets have proven to be a challenge, which, although frustrating, I really do love a challenge. So between Blender and Onshape, I will beat it. I am not worried about that. But I am pretty pumped up for the Spaceman. I think it's going to be pretty good. If I still would have really liked to have gotten a hold of a good 3D scanner. But right now, I don't see the value in dropping $600 or $700. There's some new ones out. The new Mini 2 is a really good one, and it's designed for parts that are smaller than 10 by 10 by 10 millimeter. So it is a really good scanner. A lot of the scanners that everybody talks about, if you can do a whole car, you probably can't use that same scanner to do anything smaller than 5 or 6 inches tall, because it just won't pick it up. And people ask me about that, and the easiest way to tell is how far apart. Most 3D scanners have 2 cameras, right? And it's looking at 2 different things. And you think about how your eyes work, right? You have 2 eyes. One sees things this way, and this one adjusts everything else. And that's how you get depth perception. Same with these cameras. So the further apart those 2 cameras are, the harder it's going to be to zoom in on something smaller than how far apart the eyes are. So if you see the newer ones that have come out, and those 2 eyes are right next to each other, that's for detail work. If they're far apart, like some of the new ones have 4 eyes, 2 for distance and 2 for detail. So that's how all that works. And it's taken them a while to get to the point where they can do small things. But I think the newest one on the market is a year old now. So I keep thinking, like, I'm going to drop the money for it, and then in 2 weeks they'll come out with one that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's how it works with printers anyway. As soon as you buy one, it's state of the art, kind of like computers were in the 90s. Buy that new sweet rig, and then about a month later, the next best core drive or whatever comes out, and you're just like, oh crap. But that's how it works. Having the scans of the 1/12 scale figures really does help with this. So I'm kind of hoping at some point I get that done. But I'm winging it on the Spaceman. So far, I've had pretty good luck with it. I was not able to print the boots because that one printer is down, but I have faith in it. What I'll do on the picture that I showed you, that thing is shelled out. So I will print the shell, make sure that it fits over the boot the way that it is, the boot and the lower leg, and then I will put little ridges in it so that when it glues together, it actually meets, and I'll put, the little pegs and holes in it and all that so they snap together like a molecule. So. I agree. I mean, it's, when we were doing boat hulls when I worked for Bass Pro, and you'd have to put all the little dots on there, and you were paying like $10,000-$20,000 for a scanner that does that. At the same time, dentistry is probably the reason we have such great tools for this, because that has to be an accurate representation of somebody's, their gum line, or if they're replacing a tooth or whatever, so that has to be as accurate as possible. And that is a very small, detailed thing. So between them and the jewelry industry, they're the ones driving that technology. So now that technology has been around for about 5 years now, it's like anything else that's state of the art. It's going to be smaller and more compact. I mean, there was a time when to have the processing power that's in your iPhone, it would have taken a city block of computers to do that. And it's so it's worth waiting for, just, when you're on this deadline and you're like, damn it, should I pay the money now or wait for the next one? And you can tell by the last year, there were almost every maker of the scanners came out with a mini or a light version that was specifically designed for small things. And you gotta kind of wade through the marketing terms and all that. It's just one of those things. But I am excited. Just like 3D printing, it's gotten better. FDM printing now is so much further than it was 5 years ago. I think at some point it'll become almost as good as what you can make out of resin. But I'm going to go ahead and put my money in the resin camp for now. How many kits? We'll probably have. We'll make enough of the black Spaceman kits for the workshop, and then there'll be the light gray ones we'll have. I'm hoping that we'll have like 15 or 20 of them, but we'll see. We'll have at least 12 of every kit. The sci-fi kit and the Dragonsky kit may ramp up a little harder than that, but those kits will be. That's the stuff we'll be bringing. I'll probably only bring 4 or 5 of the Panther kits, but they're take up a little more space in the car. What's up, Jerk?
What up, Jerk?
Definitely. That's going to be great. Tony.
What's up,
Bobby's here. So that's kind of what I have for updates, things like that. We've got let's see, Joe Fest is more going to be directed towards longbow and Skeletron and that kind of stuff. We're trying to get maybe a half table or something like that. We've sent a few messages to Ed over the last few months. Haven't heard anything back, so I guess nothing's opened up or something. I don't know what's going on, but I'd like to at least set up the kits at Joe Fest. At least get that going so people can see what we're doing, get some more website traffic. And then after the show, the new stuff will go on the website. That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now today. We'll also probably have a few of these guys, these things for the. If you decide you want to make Mikey's Z-Force Jeep.
Yeah.
This goes in. It's a lot more flat than the one that comes with it. Has this opening turret. Little non-skid on the lid. Oh, sorry. I can't see you in front of myself. So we'll probably have a couple of those, and I'll probably print off a couple of those Hyena gunner seats. So if somebody sees Mikey's and wants to make their own, Godspeed, but at least you'll have a Robo Skull gunner seat instead of a Cobra gunner seat in the back.
Yeah, there's a lot of other pieces that have Cobra on it, but at least that's something that'll look cool.
That's a big beast, and it really looks cool when you open up the back and you see the skull and crossbones on the back of that seat instead of the Cobra logo.
Mm-hmm.
It does, Ken. That is, man. I really like the screaming head sculpt. I normally don't like those, but on that figure, it just looked cool. The extra hands, and that's just really, really cool. As the Skeletron crew does, they always crank it up a few more notches and make something cool. I don't know if anybody else read their update. I think they're going to be kind of either conjoined or with the Marauder Gunrunners booth. So that's just a nod to the fact that they are working on stuff together for those 6-inch figures. So that is not next week. It's, what is it, the 19th, Mikey? Is it the 17th? It's the weekend of the 19th.
Yeah.
So for us, that's us leaving on Wednesday and not coming home until 2 weeks later. All right, Mikey, what else you got?
I don't have anything.
You know, it's to that point where it's like, I can tell you everything that I've got going on, everything that we've got going on. And then after that, my brain is like, I really don't know what else I'm doing except those things. And I'm trying to move and pack at the same time. And that's a lot of years of pack ratting stuff that you get to that point where you're like, okay, if it's been in a box and I haven't touched it in 5 years, do I really need to keep it? Probably not.
Right.
Speaking of that, if you are into 1/6 scale stuff, I'm going to be bringing quite a bit of 1/6 scale accessories, clothes, head sculpts, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be bringing a lot of that to DFW to sell the swap meets and stuff. So if you are into that stuff, then I'll have plenty of that to sell, and it's gonna be cheap. There is some older Hot Toys, Cotswold, or not Cotswold, but Sideshow collectible stuff. A lot of stuff in there. If you're into the 1/6 scale stuff, there'll be plenty of it. And also, I'll have a couple of tubs of the stuff that's more directed at the younger folks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of the old Hasbro Star Wars on the Hall of Fame style bodies. Pretty simple stuff, but there's figures. If you don't have the $200 or $300 to drop on a Hot Toys figure, a lot of those Star Wars figures look pretty decent when they were with a little work. Head sculpts, not the head sculpts. The human heads are terrible, but like the Forlom, the Forlom and Zukas, they look really good, and like some of those on your shelf, they're gonna look almost as good as the Sideshow ones. Sideshow or Hot Toys, whichever ones you're after. But yeah, lots of that kind of stuff. Lots of that stuff. Lots of older stuff. I got to go through. Mikey and I had probably 50 figures made of GI Joe characters and things we made up. So I got to go through all that, pick my very favorite ones of those to keep, and then get rid of the rest. Definitely Dusty.
Oh yeah,
Dusty and Dr. Mindbender. I got to keep those around.
Sure. Yeah, you don't want to get rid of those customs. Did have one thing I wanted to do. As a lot of you guys know, yesterday morning, our good friend Tony, Legend Series, his father passed away. He's been struggling for a long time. He's been battling that, and you just want to give him a shout out if you can. Send him some love. But I made a little something for him, so I'm gonna play that. know it's kind of a downer, but he's dealing with that. So he could use some support. Um, that's a loss that he's never going to shake. So
Oh, I know that.
yep,
I know that. It's
yep,
a hard thing.
absolutely. So you guys just send him a message if you can. Tell him you're thinking about him. Tell him you're in his thoughts. Families. You know, it's a big deal and it's temporary. So yeah, I know that's huge downer, but yeah, I think it's important that we support each other, especially when we actually need it, not just our podcasts and such, but the real
Absolutely.
So, yep, yep, yep.
You know, we talk a lot. We joke around, especially on Figure It Out. Joke around a lot about the words community and whatever word you want to use, fellowship, whatever. But this is one of those times when that really shines. Is when people that you don't know very well, or that watch your show or you watch their show, when they reach out to you. Sometimes when you're going through that, just being reminded that there are people thinking about you, that
Mm-hmm.
is 100%. I know when my dad passed 3 years ago, uh, it was a lot of the people in the Joe groups and people that I had done stuff with, worked with, those guys really supported me, probably as much as my close friends and family, honestly. So it means something, and you never know what to say, but it matters to the person that gets the message. Even if they've heard it 100 times, you might hear it from somebody and just be like, okay, that's cool, thank you. It does matter. Even if you don't know what to say, just say something, and it does matter. It means a lot when you're going
Yeah,
through.
it's definitely more about the act of reaching out than it is the words that you say or the gesture that you make. It's just the reaching out and letting somebody know that you know you're thinking about them. Like you don't have to do that. That's it's an extra thing, but it's something that everybody appreciates when they're down. Um, and losing somebody that close to you, that's pretty far down. So um, and he's a big source of a lot of our entertainment in this community. So I definitely definitely want to get him back on his feet and back to doing the stuff that he loves. So yeah.
All right, cool. That's thanks, Mikey. That was awesome.
So I did have Balake uh, asked this, but the Duke boys are already made. So the Duke boys are we're part of the commission. Um, it was one of those things he wanted the tumbler, so he needed Duke boys to go with it, and boom, there they are. So boom, there they are, and that is very cool. So yeah, that's what we got going on right now. Like I said, I'm gonna get to painting that hyena today, or clear coating it. Um, that is that's my main deal. That's my main priority right now is finishing that up. And once I finish that up, I can maybe start do another figure or something before before I gotta leave, which would be nice.
Yes, it would. It would be very nice. Um, let's see. All right. Try to think of anything else. If anybody in the chat has anything they want to ask or bring up other than what we've talked about, or if you want to see something again that we've already talked about, just holler. We'll pop it back up. main points today was DFW workshops, progress. The general lead tumbler is complete. Mikey, the Z-Force Jeep is complete, right? Except for this
Yep.
piece I need to get to you. And then the Hyena is on its way to being done.
Very, very close. Just got to do clear coat and final assembly.
So progress of the Spaceman, there'll be a lot more. I think that should be wrapped up for the Father's Day show in 2 weeks. That will be wrapped up, and then on that same show, we should have a pretty good representation of everything we're going to be bringing and everything that we'll be doing in that 2-week period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, tomorrow, Zakanen and I will be on the Mega Powers again, doing those shenanigans. Wednesday
cool.
we'll be back to the Dragonsky on JMK Custom Works Live. Thursday we've got A.O. Frankie's joining us for a show, which is pretty cool. We're excited to talk to him. And then I think that's everything that I've got planned. Of course, next Sunday is an off week for us, so hopefully we can
for the show anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we can get some good progress made there. Yeah, that's what I got. Kind of a short show today, but
we got stuff going on and a lot going on. So
absolutely.
There are 2 things you got to consider. Ken, you got to consider the resin that you use and the its ability, your printer's ability to cut the resolution as low as as high as you possibly can, even though it slows up the print. And then there are a couple of tips and tricks you can use to get rid of the lines on that. Suka.
What's up, Suka?
But yeah, that's going to be one of my projects this week, because getting those astronaut bubbles prototyped. I've made a prototype. Obviously, the figure behind me over here has one, but that one was on my old 4K printer. The new one is a much tighter resolution, and Anycubic has what they call high clear resin, which prints really well. You do slow, like I say, you slow the printer way down, you kick the resolution up, and you let it roll. So I'm going to be trying that. Talk to several other 3D people that do clear. It's a lot easier to. None of it's easy. Okay, I don't mean that, but in representation, it's a lot easier to sand and smooth out the backside of a windshield than it is a little bubble helmet. So that's going to be the trick, is making sure that that works, and by tightening those lines as thin as they can be on there, then that does help with the bubbles. And the high clear is designed in such a way that it is supposed to minimize air bubbles trapped in it. So we'll see what happens. If I get one printed and it looks pretty good, then I'll print a tray of them and hopefully end up with plenty of kits to bring to the show. That's what I want to do. And I think right now, everything that 3D printers are coming with are more bells and whistles. They're kicking up the bells and whistles, and instead of putting out a new printer, there's been very little new developments. The 12K, like I said earlier, that's more of a marketing thing, but the 12K does mean that there's a lot to do with your slicer software and tweaking it to perfection. But I got several there's several places online where people do this stuff all the time, and you can get a lot of tips and tricks. Figure out how to set your settings to do the best, not overheat the last layers so that everything's good. But yeah, I mean that's part of this is the modeling part. Yes, that is the most difficult and time consuming part. But if you've done any 3D printing at all, you know that there is a lot of parts that you end up throwing away because there's something wrong with it. There's something wrong here, or something wrong there, or you printed it just to see how it goes. Like a lot of these new printers have a fast setting where you can print fast, and then you have to buy a special resin for that. But that's really awesome if like I'm doing like these shoes for the Spaceman, the bottom boots. Those are going to need. It'll be great for me to fast print those parts in just like 2 hours, and I'll know what I need to tweak on it before I spend a 6-hour print printing them good for the kids, printing them nice for the kids. So for prototyping, that's really going to be invaluable because it's going to cut my time down. I don't have to put a print on for 6 hours overnight or whatever. I can run them in the day, go do some other things, pack boxes, load trucks, whatever, and then go pull them off the printer and clean them up. So it's funny when you got multiple printers and they're all different styles of printer, then you have to be really careful you have to be really aware of what you're doing when you open up your slicer software, that you're telling it the right printer with the right printer settings when you export it out to print. But that's just part of it. That's okay. It's all workflow is part of doing any design work, whether you just paint figures or you scratch build things or whatever. You always have a workflow, so you just have to pay attention to your workflow.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Matt.
Oh, that's the mineral oil. That's your trick. That's your trick. Those O-ring elbows. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mineral oil.
Which is really, that's what. Yeah, just get you some from Amazon or whatever. I mean, it's basically what baby oil is. Just baby oil has stuff in it to smell good, but that's what it is. It's just what it does is it's like a nutrient for the plastic, because over time, gassing off your plastic especially on something like that has a lot of torque on it, it will eventually fade. The color will fade if it's red or blue, and then you'll have the cracks in the elbows. You rub that mineral oil in, it keeps the plastic at its original flexibility. It absorbs into the plastic, and that keeps it good. And mineral oil also works if you do boil and pop and you overcook it, and it tends to change the shade of like a darker color, like burgundy or dark blue. A lot of times that will powder out because that extra heat does some sort of reaction, kind of like car paint, like an oxidation thing. So if you've got your painting all done, you rub those colored parts with a little mineral oil, let them set, they'll soak in, and the color will restore back to what it was.
Yeah. I think I encounter it the most when I'm removing a color, like with the lacquer thinner. It'll start to get that chalky appearance, the powdery white color, and then that mineral oil will bring that back to a regular hue.
It will. Oh yeah, it's the thing about it is, if you 3D print all the time, you really don't always remember how many pieces you throw away. Like I printed like 7 of these baskets, and almost every one of them, this piece right here, the layers split apart. Every one of them. This one that I showed you today, it snapped in place because I had to sand this straight off. Everything else about this printed off perfectly, but that back piece keeps failing. I moved it around, so I'm going to try to print it up and down like this and see if that helps with a little angle on it. I tried a few different things, and that's just what you end up doing. You end up in your brain, especially if you do any engineering work, you think you should just print it straight flat so you have a nice clean surface on the top, and sometimes that works. But some 3D printers aren't precise. If you're using SLA where it uses the laser lights, that's pretty precise. But most of our printers are using LCD light, and they're not quite as precise. So when you print straight up and down, it may fill the holes in as it's, if you got like the sci-fi backpack I did, like when I tried to print that just flat, like it filled in all the holes on the top, which is a lot of the detail of that backpack. I mean, that backpack has a ton of, little holes and little divots in it, to mimic the original. So what I learned was I tip it up just at a little bit of an angle, everything prints great. I don't, but I always have, and Mikey and I've talked about this many times, like that printer that it's a Mono X. It's old. I mean, it's not a new printer by any means. It's 4 generations old, and I bought it brand new in the Kickstarter when they did the Kickstarter for the Mono X. But that thing cannot print a hole to a dimensional spec to save its life. This thing right here, right? It's got this hole in it. I was going to do this in the 8.4 millimeter, which is, like on the modern stuff, like that's what the Hiss guns, like that's the thing on the Robo Skull, everything's 8.4 millimeter. This thing came out at 7.97 millimeter, 4/10 of a millimeter too small. I don't know. So I'm hoping I'm going to try to print one on the new printer and see if it does it a lot better. I've heard it does, but let's see what happens. But yeah, it's super frustrating. I'll have to adjust when I have two pieces that go together. I have to make the tolerances ridiculous just to know that they're going to slide together. Yes. Yes, I would always, if you're going through your stuff, go ahead and put it on everything. Yeah, it's so frustrating. And a lot of the new printers, they talk about how they have the resin vats that warm up, but they only warm up for like the first 15, 20 layers, and then they cool back down, and that just ends up causing you more problems. It sounds great if you're printing in your garage, and you're like, oh, a heated resin tank, that's awesome. You put it out there, and halfway through the print, the temperature of the resin goes from 72 degrees to 40, and then you get almost done with the print, and it starts splitting apart, and that's why. Like I say, it sounds great to have a heated resin tank, but if it's not going to be heated the whole time it's running, well, I don't understand the point of it. I'm sure somebody there could tell me.
Yeah.
Could tell me their thought process on that. I mean, they're really, they tell you all the time to keep it in a temperature controlled environment, but the biggest complaints I've seen about that have been from the guys that are trying to print in their garage. But it's super frustrating, especially when you can't find. What I really hate, Suka, is when you have an entire bed and only one part does that. It's the same height as everything else, just that one part starts splitting apart, or it doesn't print at all, and you're just like it's totally empty where it's supposed to be on the bed. That happens. It's a riot. It's so much fun. Like I said earlier, there are so many reasons to have at least one filament machine. I just haven't taken the time to learn how to use them. So I would imagine in the next few months it'll be considered, especially for the. I showed you guys a few weeks ago that little spaceship for the Spaceman that I want to do. Like that, it would be nice to at least do a frame with filament, and then just snap all the other pieces onto it. I think that would be cool. I've had them so good that I print, and every time I print it, it fails. Maybe not in the exact same place, but somewhere. And then I'll try it one more time, or I'll throw it on a thing. I'll be like, well, I got to print this other stuff on one printer. I have to get these other things done. I'll throw that one on there, and it prints perfectly. And I have no idea why. For a long time, I thought I was having trouble with temperature in my basement. I thought maybe the build plate was getting cold, but it didn't make any difference at all. So yeah, sometimes it just I don't know why they do that, but they do. I think a lot of times when one of your LCD lights doesn't get as much charge or something, but it's never in the same place. I mean, if it is in the same exact place, then that you can at least focus down on, okay, why does this corner never print? That's a lot easier than just one of the random prints on your bed just doesn't print.
Right.
It's like chasing down a wiring issue on your car. It makes no sense why the windshield wiper turns on when I turn the lights on. Like, they're not even close to each other. How could this happen? Oh, the fun of 3D printing.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay, I watch a lot of stuff, and that new several like people that do this all the time have talked about those new Elegoo Mars, especially the Mars 4, I think it is, that one being like a perfect printer for somebody just starting out. Like, pretty much you just plug it in, level the print bed, and it's ready to go. And yes, Suka's right. Unlimited patience. But you get it dialed in, runs good, and then it doesn't. Yeah. It's like anything else, any other tool in a shop. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it isn't. But if you don't like sanding everything every time, the resin printer is the way to go. Hey, Jacob.
Morning, Jacob.
I think the general consensus, Jacob, is everybody's tired.
Everybody is tired.
Ken, I know that when people say that about resin printing, they forget how much time the guys that do filament spend dialing in the temperatures and the settings and all that, especially if you build one yourself, out of a kit, or you put the parts together yourself. Like, the amount of time you spend just getting the filament to work right. Like I say, if no matter which one you're using, you have to become an expert at it fairly quickly. And luckily, there are plenty of YouTube videos and other videos. I dislike shorts. When people do the shorts, I do not understand that. Like, if you're into a video about how to do something, actually do a video on how to do something. Don't just show me a 30-second clip of you magically came up with the right part at the end of it. Like, how'd you do it? What would you do? Yeah, I don't understand that at all, but lots of them do that. So, what is patience? Indeed.
Absolutely.
That's what everybody thinks. So they clean a pile of half cured resin out of a tank. For no reason. 5 perfect prints, 5 perfect ones, and then the 6th one, cleaning resin out of the bottom of the vat. What in the world happened? Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Mystery.
Is it your FEP film? Is it the LCD light? Is it something's too cold? Never ends. All right. Well, I think we're good here for today.
All right.
Our show, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks on Father's Day. We're gonna do a show. That show should be pretty amazing, I think. We should have a lot to show, a lot to talk about. We'll be on the edge of our seats, certainly, because by then everything better be pretty much ready or we're screwed.
It's true. Yeah.
Just being honest, folks.
That's deadline time.
I will have to be out of this place on the Friday before that, so that will be interesting. So that transition is going to be quite a transition.
No doubt.
But it'll be all right. So, guys, thanks for being here this morning. We appreciate it. We're at that point right now where we're so focused on what to get done and getting things done that it's hard to go through it. I didn't do a video on how I did that boot just because. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I totally forgot that I was supposed to be filming it for the show, and I missed that. But you saw what it looks like. Now it goes into on shape for post processing after I make sure that the fit and everything goes together and it fits the boot. I know that the design is solid, so now it's like a sketch. Now I can take the sketch, test fit it, and then I can do all the fancy stuff to make it work for the workshop and for the kits that we'll sell. You'll be able to. You can make a deep six with this if you wanted to. There's lots of stuff you could do with this kit, absolutely.
True.
So so I think that's what we got, guys. So we will. I won't be on. I think the next couple of weeks of Mikey's Wednesday night show. Is that right?
This Wednesday for sure.
Okay.
Are you going to be out another one? That's okay.
Well, next Wednesday will be even tighter for me because I don't know what my internet situation will be next week. This coming up week, I'll still probably, be around. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll play it by ear. And then Thursday, you got Figure It Out, 9 p.m. Central. And then we have the week off, and then we'll see you guys again on, like I said, Father's Day. That'll be fun doing a Father's Day show. So
yeah, that'll be good. So thank you everyone so much for watching. Replay Squad, appreciate you too.
Definitely.
Like I said earlier, if you can reach out to Tony, tell him you're thinking about him. Send some love his way. Outside of that, we'll see you on down the road. We'll see you. I guess we'll see you tomorrow night on Yo Joe Jerk. So
there you go.
Have a good night, good day, enjoy yourselves.
Thanks everybody.
Tony, catch that replay. Love you, buddy.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Eat my short.
Go fuck yourself. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Flush that turd down the drain. Avenge me! Avenge me!
Thank you. Thank you.